And welcome back to Kerbal Space Program. When last we saw our hero Bill Kerman, he was, as he is now, in his capsule in orbit, unable to return because of the lack of a descent stage because of a critical design flaw in his ship. Now, there has already been one rescue attempt that failed miserably and ended up just having to return. And so now we will adjourn to the Space Center and vehicle assembly building and see about arranging for another rescue attempt. I'm going to go ahead and load up Rescue 1, and we're going to mix a little bit of a change to the ship, and then we're going to try again. Now, I'm going to go ahead and leave all of this. It's overpowered as all get out, but I'd rather have it overpowered than underpowered. I think the main change that I'm going to make is for control's sake and for steering. I'm going to add the MechJet module. Now, as usual, MechJet will not be flying the mission. It will simply be providing me with information and the smartass component for steering control. So we're going to go ahead and save this and head to the launch pad and get this flight in gear. Okay, here we are. We have Ludlow Kerman in the pilot seat for this trip. I need to back off a little bit here and get I think, a more realistic, wider view of the launch, which will also have the effect, I believe, of reducing some of the engine noise. Okay, we're going to be rendezvousing with Cargo 5. And let's see, I'm going to, as I said, I'm going to activate smartass. I may use the rendezvous module of MechJet because it provides this information. It does not pilot the rendezvous for me or anything. It just simply provides information, and actually some of this information is already over here. So we'll see about that. I'm going to go ahead and turn it off for now. All right. In the meanwhile, we are set to go, so let's just go ahead and start the SAS and launch. Apoapsis is 200 something, so let's cut the engine and stage away that stuff we don't need anymore, and burn a little bit to get clear of it. I should have been paying more attention to apoapsis. We certainly didn't need a 200-kilometer apoapsis. All right. Smartass off. Well, let's just get the pitch to 0. We don't actually want to turn prograde yet. 0 pitch is going to be much better. Let's have a look at our orbit view. I really wish this thing would not default to facing on the wrong side of the planet. All right, we have 213-kilometer orbit apoapsis. So we get up there, we get the periapsis up to, I'd say, about 100, say 100 kilometers, maybe 95 would be better. And then we'll get around the periapsis and bring the apoapsis down to match that, and we'll have an orbit that will be sufficiently faster than Cargo 5 so that we can actually catch up with it. Okay, apoapsis is 2 minutes away. So let's go ahead and accelerate time a little bit. Closer to apoapsis. And now I'm going to go ahead and pitch minus 20 degrees. So I'm actually pitched below the horizon a little bit. This way I can do my burn without raising the apoapsis anymore. And speaking of burns, let's go. See, the apoapsis is still coming up, but not nearly as much. The main thing is to increase the periapsis, which it is starting to do slowly. It will be very nice at some point in the future when Kerbal has city lights visible on the night side of the planet. As it is, there isn't much at all visible on the night side. I'm going to pitch negative 40 now because our apoapsis is going up even more, and I really want to try to stop some of that. Got the engines. Let's have a look here. Yeah, okay. Burn, baby, burn. And let's get the pitch back to 0. Our apoapsis is going to go really freaking high. I have obviously mismanaged that. But our periapsis is coming up. Ay, ay, ay. It's a good thing we still have a lot of fuel because we're going to be using a bunch of it. Okay, this is ridiculous. Look at what we've done to the orbit. 1,000 kilometers. But we still have to raise the periapsis even more, so let us burn. Got to raise this periapsis. Alright, this stage is done. Let's just go ahead, cut the throttle, get rid of that stage. Perhaps it will re-enter. I'm going to go a 20-degree up pitch, and we'll burn away from that. We still have to get the periapsis up to like 70, regardless of what it's doing to the apoapsis. Because at this point we would re-enter, and we don't want to do that. Alright, let's pitch up to 50. Periapsis up faster. Pitching up to 70. Mismanaging the daylights out of this mission, I know. And let's hope that we can still achieve the rescue anyway, in spite of all of this. Alright, cut the throttle. Smartass off. Periapsis is low, but at this point, if it brings the apoapsis down, passing this close, that will actually be good. And as a matter of fact, periapsis is, we're almost there, so let's just turn retrograde and burn it back down. Burn the apoapsis back down. Obviously, I've mismanaged the heck out of this. We've wasted a crap load of fuel. Well, I've wasted a crap load of fuel. I'd like to actually have this rescue mission attempt to be successful. So we'll bring the apoapsis down from an attempt to get to the moon. To something reasonable. It shrunk down to almost 1,000 kilometers, as opposed to the almost 8,000 that it was. Using boatloads of fuel here, though. Down to 600. I want to get it down to 95. Down to 200. Periapsis is going negative. Fortunately, we're clear past it. Apoapsis is getting close to where I want it to be. And I think we need to cut. As a matter of fact, we're approaching apoapsis. So, it is now time to turn prograde, because we now need to raise the periapsis. I should have been paying more attention to the way this. As soon as the periapsis went negative, I should have stopped thrusting. That was a mistake, and it may cost us the mission. I don't know. I certainly hope not. We'll see. 1 minute to apoapsis. Warp time ahead just a little bit. And now we will go ahead and burn the periapsis back up again. Coming up quickly. Backing off the throttle. $95. Very good. All right, now, where is cargo 5? There it is. Okay. There's the apoapsis. We're going to have to pretty much go around to here. Bring the apoapsis down to match the 95. And then it's going to be the waiting game in orbit as we catch up to cargo 5, which will take a while, with our orbit being roughly 1800 to 1900 seconds orbit period. Yeah, 1900 seconds or thereabouts, roughly about 32 minutes or so, approximately. Yeah. And so, let's go ahead and warp around to periapsis. Okay, let's go a little bit faster here. Periapsis, retrograde, because we want to lower the apoapsis. We want to bring this down to 95. Okay, and let's burn. Okay, 7, 6, 5. Okay, periapsis dropped a little bit, but that's not bad. That part's cool. Okay. Our orbit is now reasonably lower than the cargo 5 orbit, which is 108. That means that we will orbit the planet slightly faster than they do and eventually catch up. I'm figuring 7 or 8 hours worth of orbiting here to catch up, so I'm going to accelerate time, and I will skip ahead to that point of close approach. All right, our rescue ship has been orbiting now for 17 hours and is now finally within 30 kilometers of the target. I'm going to go ahead and turn prograde so that we're ready to do the burn when we get to within 25 kilometers. When we get to that point, we'll be doing a burn to raise our apoapsis to 108 kilometers. And so, just about there, 26.4 and closing. Getting very close. kilometers. Let us burn. Apoapsis to 108. Using very short bursts of thrust here to get that last little bit. 108.36. Okay. Now, let's see, look at the orbit. We're at periapsis. Apoapsis is over here. Get to apoapsis, burn it to 108, or to the same as whatever cargo 5's value is for that. And actually, it's possible we might just manage to rendezvous between now and then. Let's see, this I believe is supposed to point you in the direction to cancel your relative velocity when it's negative, like this is. Naturally, I wouldn't want to make such a maneuver until the distance was as close as possible. But I'm thinking that might just be the right way to go, instead of trying to manually aim and shoot the way I was before. Alright, I've been watching our approach. Notice the relative velocity is getting closer to 0, which means it's going to start going the other direction, and we're going to start actually pulling away from the target ship. And I'm thinking at this point, it's probably a good idea to make a move to cancel out the relative velocity so that we actually stay in the same position relative to cargo 5. Yeah, this is going to 0, so let's see if we can't burn and fix this situation. Burning very little at a time here. Now the distance is going up. Do you believe I need it to be pointed the other direction? We'll see. We will see. Get this relative velocity down to 0. And then from there, try to translate over to it. No. Orient the other way. Oh, boy. This is tricky. That I can see. Alright. And it doesn't help that this thing wants to keep flipping us over. Let's try orienting directly towards the target. Let's see if we can just translate ourselves over there. Went from 8.3 to 8.2. This is going down. I think we may actually be on an approach course. Let's have a look at the orbital view. This is us. This is Cargo 5. And it looks like they merged together up here. So we might actually be on an approach. All right. With that in mind, let's open our little basket. And now would be a good time to switch to Cargo 5 briefly. If I can remember to actually use the correct key to do that instead of time compressing, but I don't want to. Okay, fine, we'll use the map view. Switching to Cargo 5, because there is something that Bill Kerman needs to do. See, his ship still has that lower stage, and we need to jettison that, because that would get in the way. Alright, now he is ready to be captured. Let us switch back to Rescue 1. Okay, reselect our Cargo 5 target. Reselect it here as well. And orient pointed at the target. We are closing to within 6.7 kilometers. We're actually closing on this thing now. Let's go and close that. I don't need it. Okay. We're closing at about 9.8 meters per second. And all things considered, I don't think I want to try to accelerate any faster than that. And instead, I'm going to go ahead and skip ahead to when we're close enough to actually attempt the capture. Okay, we are now at a point where Cargo 5 is pulling ahead of us, and we need to start closing on it again. So I'm going to start burning in its direction. Try to reduce the distance. Oops, wrong switch. We are now within a kilometer. And 860 meters. It's going back up. Come on. Okay, we're closing on it again. The trick is to do so with keeping the approach speed low. Doggone it. Okay, maybe I can cancel the relative velocity. No, that one's going to be the wrong direction, I'm pretty sure. We want the relative velocity down to 0. Actually bring it a little bit negative so that we can start approaching. Oh, stop that. Alright, now that we're in that position, let's just turn smartass off. Try to fly this manually. I may need to use it a little bit to re-aim once in a while, but the idea here is let's use our reaction thrusters. Kind of try to close the distance in such a way that we'll be able to cancel the relative velocity once we get close. 2 meters a second, less than 2 kilometers, and closing. That's what I'll do, is I'll use occasional bursts of smartass with Target Plus to keep us pointed at the target. And then I'll just use thrusters to adjust our speed right now. I think we've got a good chance of actually capturing this thing this time. Just have to be patient and do it slowly. Which means I may be making cuts in the video, because this is going to be a slow process. Okay, we're closing. 950 meters away now. We've lost a little bit of velocity relative, so I'm going to use thrusters to bring that back up just a little bit to keep our closing speed. Oh God, this is tricky as all get out. But as long as we're closing on it, then I shouldn't mess with things too much. Our speed is going. It's going away from us. All right, let's Try that move to cancel our relative velocity again. Well, wait a minute. We're closing. All right, we'll go target plus, face the target. Okay, let's cancel the relative velocity. Get the doggone thing to stop running away from us. Fortunately, we seem to be able to do quite a bit with very little fuel. We are now within 500 meters. Within 300. We can see the capsule. And now it's pulling away again. I'm going to continue low thrust on the target plus position. This is ridiculous. I never realized how incredibly difficult it is to get close enough for physical docking, which is essentially what we're doing. Boom! Right on by us. I am having the most difficult time canceling relative velocity because it's moving relative to us in, well, at least 3 axes. And that's the problem. And of course, all this burning I've done has raised my apoapsis to 145, which means the thing is going to move away from us. It looks like I may have to look into other ways to close the distance and cancel the relative velocity, because the way I've been trying to do it is just plain not working. And we're getting to the point where we've got just about enough fuel to do a deorbit burn. And the thing about this rendezvous is, once we capture Cargo 5, we have to do a deorbit burn so that we can put it on a re-entry trajectory. Then we have to bring our orbit back up so that we don't re-enter at the same time it does, because it will be necessary to switch to Cargo 5 and bring it down and deploy the parachutes at the right time and so on. And can't be doing that if the rescue ship is also re-entering at the same time. It will result in at least one of them crashing. And of course, that's counterproductive to the whole idea of a rescue. Yeah. 145-kilometer apoapsis. I really thought I had this set to work, but obviously I'm going to have to study the matter a whole lot more and redesign how I'm going to try to actually get this done. So, a second attempt at rescue has failed. That's just all there is to it. So now we disregard our targeting, turn that off. Cargo 5, once again, must continue to wait while we retro-burn this ship and get it out of orbit and figure out what's been doing wrong, find out how to do it right, and then try it again. Go ahead and warp time ahead and bring this thing down. Oh no. The parachute failed. Parachute failed. Bill Kerman has good reason to be upset. He's about to get squished. Parachute did deploy, but it failed. Sorry, Ledlarf. We'll start the cloning vats as soon as possible. You'd think, though, that he could survive a splashdown at 100 meters a second.